Hello, listeners. Welcome to Ethics Uncovered, a podcast explaining the fascinating intersection of science and ethics. I'm Andres, joining you from our recording studio at Wake STEM High School on April 16th, 2025. Today, we're diving into the critical question: is it ethical to withhold information or provide incomplete details about experiments to participants? With me are my excellent co-hosts, Amani and Gabby, and we'll be exploring both sides of this ethical dilemma, examine the issue behind, and propose some thoughtful solutions.
Hi everyone, I'm Amani, and I'm excited to break down the genetic science that makes this topic so relevant. Understanding how DNA works and how mutations affect our bodies is crucial to appreciating the stakes in experimental ethics.
And I'm Gabi. I'll be looking at different perspectives on this issue, helping us understand why this debate matters so much in modern science. We'll also be sharing insights from expert sources, including an interview with animal scientists who deals with similar ethic decisions.
Today's episode will take on a journey through historic research ethics, examine current standards, and analyze why full disclosure matters. Let's start with a disturbing example from literature that mirrors real-world history. In this book, in our book, researchers tell participants we're going to give each of you 12 young ladies and gentlemen an injection. 6 of the participants will be injected with water, 6 of them will be mixed in with a tiny amount of a chemical compound we call LOT6. The exact nature of this compound is specified, but it is essentially hypnotic and mildly hallucinogenic. Notice the deliberate agitation. Researchers use vague terms like classified and essentially to hide the true nature of the substance. They're exploiting vulnerable participants without providing adequate information. This fictional scenario is the central question that our podcast: is it acceptable to withhold crucial information from research participants?
To understand why informed consent matters in experiments, we need to appreciate what happens at the molecular level when people participate in studies, especially those involving chemicals or drugs that interact with our bodies. When a substance enters our body, it interacts with our cells and can potentially affect our DNA. The DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid, is the double-stranded molecule containing our genetic code. Each strand is composed of nucleotides such as adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, paired in a complementary fashion. These genetic material directs all cellular activities through the process called gene expression. The process begins with transcription, where the enzyme called RNA polymerase creates a single-stranded mRNA molecule by copying a specific gene sequence from DNA. This mRNA then undergoes translation at ribosomes, where transfer RNA molecules bring specific amino acids to create proteins according to the genetic code. These proteins perform countless functions in our bodies, from building tissues to regulating biochemical reactions. When researchers introduce experimental compounds like the fictional LOT6, these substances can potentially interfere with normal gene expression. They might bind to DNA, disrupt transcription factors, or alter protein folding. More concerning are mutations, permanent changes to DNA sequence that can result from chemical exposure. These mutations can be point mutations affecting single nucleotides, deletions, insertions, or chromosomal rearrangements. The significance: when participants aren't fully informed about the compounds being tested, they can't possibly understand the genetic risk they're undertaking. The substance described merely as a mild hallucinogenic might actually be causing DNA damage that could lead to long-term health consequences, or even be passed to future generations through germline mutations.
While full disclosure might seem obviously necessary, some scientists argue there are limited reasons to limit information provided to participants. In some psychological studies revealing the true purpose by bias participants' behavior, if you're studying natural reactions to stress, telling subjects what you're measuring could change how they respond to the stress. Similarly, in placebo-controlled drugs trials, participants may not know whether they're receiving an active treatment or a placebo to maintain the study's validity. As our interviewed animal scientists point out, regarding ethical review boards. Ethical review boards act as a gatekeeper of ethical integrity, ensuring research is conducted responsibly while balancing scientific progress with moral consideration. This suggests that there is a careful weighing process where scientific advancement must be balanced with ethical constraints. The Department of Defense has established guidelines that permit temporary information withholding in a specific context when operational necessity outweighs the risk. When mandatory post-mission disclosure, this acknowledges that in certain specialized situations, limited withholding with later disclosure might be justified. Another consideration is that the concept of therapeutic privilege in medical settings. Historically, physicians sometimes withheld diagnoses they believe could harm patients psychologically. As noted in the Nobeck study, 90% of physicians withheld cancer diagnoses in 1961, though this practice has largely been rejected in favor for transparency. Even with these potential justifications, any withholding must be minimal, temporary, and approved by ethical review boards. The scientists we interviewed emphasized that ethical review boards oversee studies to ensure compliance with approved protocols. They can suspend or halt research if ethical violations occur. This oversight prevents exploitation while allowing necessary research flexibility.
Yes. Despite those potential justifications, the historical consequences of information withholding have been devastating. Perhaps the most infamous is the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, as reported by the New York Times in 1972. 400 syphilitic black men were denied penicillin throughout the experiment, with free burials offered as an incentive for autopsy access. Government doctors strike down erratic tissue production while claiming to provide other medical services. This horrific 40-year experiment violated every principle of ethical research. Participants were informed that they had syphilis. They weren't sure the true purpose of the study. They were egregiously denied effective treatment even after penicillin became widely available. The legacy of this and similar studies has devastated public trust in medical research, particularly among minority communities. And the consequences of withholding information extend beyond individual harm. When ethical studies are exposed, they erode public trust in science, making recruiting for legitimate research more difficult, resulting in tighter restrictions that may impede the beneficial research, and creating lasting generational drama and affecting communities. The book excerpt I shared earlier reflects how fiction often mirrors these ethical failures, just as fictional researchers classify a compound while downplaying risks. Real scientists would have historically obscured dangers while exploiting vulnerable populations. This pattern recognizes why transparent, informed consent is non-negotiable in ethics research.
So how do we protect research participants while still enabling valuable scientific progress? Well, the answer lies in robust ethical frameworks and regulatory oversight. The cornerstone of modern research ethics is the Belmont Report, published in 1979, following public outrage over studies like Tuskegee. It established three fundamental principles: respect for persons, recognizing individual autonomy; benefits, maximizing benefits while minimizing harms; and justice, ensuring fair distribution of research benefits and burdens. These principles directly address information withholding. As the Belmont Report states, respect for persons demands that subjects enter into research voluntarily and with adequate information. This makes clear that information consent requires comprehensive disclosure. Today, institutional review boards, or IRBs, evaluate all human research proposals to ensure ethical compliance. Our animal scientist interviewee explained that these boards assesses research protocols to ensure ethical principles are upheld, such as minimizing harm, protecting participants' rights, and ensuring scientific validity. Similar oversight exists for animal research through institutional animal care and use committees, or IACUCs. The bioethical framework developed by Weirkamp and Childress provides four guiding principles: respect for autonomy, non-maleficence, beneficence, and justice. These principles mediates between abstract morality and practical decision making, a framework rendered in innards when researchers withhold information. Without full disclosure, participants cannot exercise genuine autonomy. Modern informed consent requirements have evolved to ensure participants receive clear, comprehensive information in accessible language. When limited disclosure is necessary for methodological reasons, debriefing becomes mandatory. Participants must be fully informed after participation and given the opportunity to withdraw their data.
As we've explored this complex issue, it's clear that there's a delicate balance between significant advancement and ethical research practices. Moving forward, that approach should be researchers' take. First, we must recognize that truly informed consent is an ongoing process. Not a one-form signing or animal scientific emphasize that researchers more ensure participants make informed decisions about their involvement. Through informed consent, this allows participants to understand the risks and benefits of participating. For cases where complete disclosure might compromise studies' validity, we need to carefully design protocols with minimal necessary withholding, no exception about risk, comprehensive debriefing, IBR oversight, and approval, and participant ability to withdraw data after full disclosure. This development of alternative research methods also offer promising directions, as our scientists noted. These include computer models and AI that simulate biological processes and predict drug effects, or BioCro micro devices that mimic human organ functions. These approaches can reduce reliance on human subjects while advancing scientific knowledge. Ethics education for researchers must emphasize both historical failures and current best practices. Understanding best past use like Tuskegee helps scientific appreciate why rigorous ethical standards are necessary, not bureaucratic obstacles. Finally, we should promote diversity, representation in the research of science, and ethical oversight. When review boards include members from various backgrounds, perspectives, and communities, they're better positioned to identify potential ethical concerns from multiple viewpoints.
Yeah, correct. As we wrap up today's discussion, it's worth reflecting how financial scenario from our book, Experts, connects to reward ethics. The novel portrays researchers deliberately concealing information while exploiting vulnerable participants, a cautionary tale that reminds us why vigilance and research ethics remains essential. In both the fiction and reality, the consequences of unethical research extends far beyond immediate harm to participants. They damage public trust, impede scientific process, and leaving lasting scars on communities. Just as the characters of the novel face the consequences of moral compromise science, the real society continues to grapple with the legacy of studies concluded without proper informed consent.
Today's discussion highlights why understanding biological processes like DNA transcription, translation, and mutation is crucial for ethical research. When participants comprehend how experimental treatments might affect their genetic material and cellular functions, they can make truly informed decisions about participation. The principles established in the Belmont Report and expanded through subsequent ethical frameworks provide a roadmap for conducting research that respects autonomy while advancing knowledge. By maintaining these standards, we ensure science progresses without sacrificing human dignity.
We should explore multiple perspectives of information withholding in experiments, from methodological necessities to historical abuses. The conclusion seems clear. While temporary minimal withholding may occasionally be justified for methodological reasons, comprehensive disclosure of risk debriefing about the purpose remain non-negotiable ethical requirements. As our animal scientists wisely noted, the goal is to seek advancement in medicine while decrease harm. The balance requires constant vigilance, robust oversight, and committing to treating research participants as partners in scientific advancement, not merely as subjects.
Yeah, again, thank you all for joining us in this exploratory exploration of research ethics. So we hope this discussion has highlighted why informed consent matters and how science can progress without compromising ethical standards. This has been Ethics Uncovered with Honor, Samani, and Gabby. Until next time, remember that the most valuable scientific discoveries are those achieved while respecting human dignity.